So this was last week, buddy. My sister was in town for our wedding party. Of course, the wife and I eloped in January. Most of you have sent, congratulations and stuff as Adam held down the ship while we were off parading around Africa for about a month here. But we did have our little family get together and stuff like that. And the sister was in town with her boyfriend, and we were out on the patio the night before, and we were just enjoying a left-handed cigarette, if you will. And all of a sudden, this dude
I've never heard it
comes
described that way before.
You like that, eh?
I like that.
That's an
good.
old term. That's an old term. Just really showing my age here.
Okay.
This guy comes up to the patio and he's like, buddy, I'm so sorry. I forgot my key. Like, I need you to let me in. So I was like, okay, no big deal. I go to let him in. He's got a Blue Jays hat on and a Blue Jays shirt on. And he looks at me and he's like, you're the walk-off. You guys do that Blue Jays podcast. I was like, yeah, hey, man. It is like 12:30 at night, by the way. Like, yeah, hey, man. He's like, holy shit. You live here? I'm like, yeah, I live here. So anyways, Eric in 102, big fan.
Eric in 102. That's great. Hi, Eric.
So a little tip of the hat his way. I'm so friend of the show also, right? Mustard Tiger, big Patreon guy. He's been with us since, as close to day one as it possibly can come, pretty much, for people who weren't your brother, your dad, and my brother and dad.
Right. Yes.
Of course, him and I met last year at Rogers Center. He's in Calgary tonight, so he's going to come by and watch the Jays game on the patio. So Eric in 102, if you're around, we're watching the game on the patio. There you go. Big walk-off party on the patio.
Beautiful. It's all coming together. Amazing stuff.
Okay, let's get into it. It is mailbag day. It is a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon kind of day. We had a pile of interaction from you folks over the last week here. So if you don't get your comment on, don't take it personal. Just keep trying, honestly. DM us. We do our best to switch it up as much as possible. Patreon gets the bump. So if you're here in Patreon lots, they just get that priority bump. It's part of being a member of that $4 club that not only gets you priority on mailbag, but it gets you all the episodes priority and quick right away, and instant access to all of our interviews. Twitter at Walk Off Podcast. You can go ahead and DM us. You can also just tweet at us. I know it's, Xing now, but I will never stop referring to it as Twitter. You can reach out on Instagram at the Walk Off Podcast. And of course, our Discord is constantly growing. I've been really impressed with our Discord. There's so many new members in there, and it's still such a great community. I love that there's people in there that disagree, and you all keep it reasonable. So thank you for that. We had a little bit of a Discord blow up like 18 months ago and had to change the way we let people in. But if you want in Discord, all you need to do is shoot us a message, and we will send you a link, and away you go. Okay, I think that's the housekeeping. Let's get into it.
All right. So we're going to start with, from Patreon, Matt Finley says, going to need a food analogy from Adam every mailbag. See how long we can keep up the streak. All right. Let's, I think the streak's at 1 right now. So let's keep her going. I'm usually pretty good with the food analogies. It's my go-to, right? It's waiting for that cake to bake. But yeah, let's keep this tracked now in the StatCast era. I'm sure we can start tracking my food analogy streak. So there you go. Johnny Eaton in Patreon says, question for the mailbag. Can you talk about the Blue Jays and not Wander Franco? Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes. He then goes on to say sub-question and then gives a question about Wander Franco. So I'm just going to ignore that.
It was
Thanks,
a trick.
Johnny.
Johnny's trying to trap you.
He really baited us in there. Yeah, I almost fell for it. It's like when you're like, don't mention it. And they're like, don't mention what? And then you're like, you tell them what they're not supposed to mention. And they're like, hey. Anyways, stupid dad stuff. Okay. We talked last week about, I think it was Davis Schneider and the contributions he's pulling on this team. If he sticks with the team, who do we send down? Biggio, Espinal. We went that whole back and forth on that. Then, of course, I brought up the struggles that Espinal has had this season. I brought up the fact that he has 7 errors in like 40 games, whereas Kevin Biggio only has 1. Compared it to Bo Bichette, who has 8 errors, but is obviously a full-time player and a shortstop at that. And now, yeah, every time I bring up errors, I do acknowledge the fact that it's not a perfect measurement of defensive prowess. So Mark Ryan on YouTube commented, every time you use errors to make a point, you qualify it by saying errors aren't the be-all, end-all. So how about using DRS or OAA instead? That's defensive runs saved and outs above average. They are flawed in their own right. I kind of went back and forth with Mark in the comment section here. I don't want to spend the next 15 minutes breaking down every flaw that outs above average has, or defensive runs saved, or UZR for that matter.
There isn't a perfect stat, though.
There isn't
like that is what it breaks down to.
Right. Exactly. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just as a for example, the Blue Jays as a team are the best in baseball as far as defensive runs saved goes. 73. I believe the Padres are 3rd, and they have like 35. Blue Jays more than double the 3rd. So like miles ahead. In defensive runs saved. Outs above average, -5. They're 19th in outs above average. So like there's some discrepancy here in like, I don't know. Anyways, last year
for defensive runs saved, by the way, it quantifies a player's entire defensive performance by attempting to measure how many runs a defender saves. So what it's doing, it's taking into account errors, range, outfield arm, double playability. And it's really interesting. This is a good stat, but it is flawed in a lot of ways because of stuff like trying to measure range, right? Trey Turner is a prime example of this. Trey Turner this was in 2022. So last year, he was struggling with defensive runs saved. He literally moved where he was positioning and all of a sudden went from a negative defensive run saved DRS to way above average. So a lot of times the flaw is, where are these guys being positioned? How are they expected to play their position by the team? And sometimes it just like, and it's weird to see, you kind of summed it up there with the team aspect of defensive runs saved and outs above average, which tend to go hand in hand when people are talking these defensive stats, these defensive metrics. Defensive metrics incredibly difficult to measure as it is, because a lot of it is just you're putting numbers into a formula and hoping it's getting as close to the thing you want, right? So defensive runs saved, it's a shifting animal kind of thing, whereas like errors, yes, errors is flawed as well, but for the other side of things, errors doesn't take that into account. All errors is counting is how many times a guy flubs up. So
outs above average, for example, accounts for a distance a guy had to travel to get to the play, how hard was the ball hit, how fast was the base runner, how far was the throw they had to make. Doesn't account for things like, it doesn't factor in errors at all. So if you throw it into the dugout and the guy gets an extra base, there's no penalty. It's just a calculation of, did you make the out or not? Right?
Yes.
Doesn't factor for exceptional arm strength. So like outfield assists that are just gunned out at home, like
which
Lourdes
is why
Gurriel we watched for years.
Stats,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And everyone has their favorites.
Everyone's like, oh, but UZR is perfect. Yeah, okay, except that it like in its own description page is like, yeah, but you should probably look at like 3 seasons worth of data. And like, how am I supposed to do that for Kevin Biggio and Santiago Espinal?
Yeah.
Right? Like, have they played 3 seasons worth of baseball in their career yet? Like, I don't think so.
Maybe in their entire career.
Career. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I don't want to have to preface this every single time. I could go to DRS.
There's a bunch of comments. Yes.
I'm still gonna have to qualify with DRS or with outs above average. That, you know, when I'm comparing Espinal and Biggio, I'm gonna have to go, yeah, but this doesn't account for the fact that, you know, Kevin Biggio is playing all these different positions, or that this is happening. Like, errors is just simple, and it's my preferred simple black and white go-to thing. So choose your own as you will. This for me is mine, and yeah.
I will give Mark Ryan some credit here on pushing back when we were giving out the OPS of everyone from May 1st. His idea, like his pushback was, well, that's not how really
we got a lot of pushback on this. Yes.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I do agree with it. That said, guys slump. And sometimes if you can pinpoint where they're slumping and isolate the better numbers, you can kind of tell what you can expect from them when they're not dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got a lot of pushback. I know Tuesday with Johnny was jumping in there too. It's like, well, it's just an arbitrary thing
line in the sand. And it is an arbitrary line in the sand.
Other than career numbers, you got to draw the line somewhere, though. Mm-hmm. This isn't Mr. Baseball. Like, I'm not getting so specific by saying, well, Kevin Biggio leads the team in 9th inning doubles in the month of May. You know, like, so just chill. I'm saying recently, and also, yeah, we're factoring in the fact that like part-time play is a factor. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing with stats. All of them are flawed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, universally, whatever your criticism is of almost any stat or metric or whatever can almost be applied to every single other one. Like, it's an incomplete picture, and just don't pretend to be getting the whole picture when you're, I don't know.
It's why I love baseball nerds so much, though, because they try so hard to get it down to that one number, right? Like, and they think
they found it with war. Oh,
I mean,
I knew you were going there. Okay. War has its own issues, and I've ranted on this before many a time. But like, you
divide the crowd every time.
I divide the crowd every time.
You have a lot of support, a lot of detractors.
Here's one thing that would go a long ways to like satisfying my gripes with war, is to just have MLB have an official war. I'm gonna have issues.
A B war and an
I'm
F
gonna
war?
have issues with how they're calculated still. I'm sure of it. But yeah, Baseball Reference has its own war. Baseball Perspective has War P. There's F War for Fangraphs. Like, just, if it's not the same number and it's all calculated differently, get out of here with that. I don't want to have to. Here, okay. 3 times a week, Hey Kami in our text chain is texting us some hybrid new stat that he's come up with, slug volume or something, right?
Yes.
They're very interesting stats, and I could see where he's coming from, but I don't want to have to go to like bobsfansite.com to look up how good was a guy.
Right.
You know, like, give me an official number at least.
Let's say war was a pie, okay? And
I don't need different brands of pie. Give me the official pie, okay?
Send him to the pie store. He doesn't need a ton of different pie stores.
Apple pie, strawberry pie. Anyways. War has its own issues, but yeah, DRS, UZR, whatever. Pick the one you want. Start a podcast. Talk all about DRS all you like, and I'll tune in. I promise. I will. And I'll leave in the comment section, yeah, but how many errors does he have? I promise. I'll do that. Okay? Pretty sure the one thing the Blue Jays community is missing is more Blue Jays podcasts. So
yes,
get on it, Mark, and really lay into DRS.
Mark.
And it's above average. Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's just where I'm coming from. I'm going to continue to preface it.
Like, I know we've dug way too deep into this, but they had good points. That's just where we're coming from on why Adam chooses errors at times over certain other things. Everyone has their preference and stats.
Still
and
a baseball average. I'm a batting average guy too. What can I say? I don't know.
I don't want people to take this either that we're shitting on stats. They're the most important thing in baseball.
We're only shitting on Mark, not on stats. I'm just kidding, Mark. I'm just kidding. I love pushback because that's how we grow. Because you know what the pushback did is it made me go to Google.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me research defensive runs saved and how they're calculated, and outs above average and how they're calculated. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't swayed. I'm entrenched in my opinion. And that's what we need out of people, right? Is to be further entrenched in their opinions. No.
More unwavering people in their opinion. That's what the world needs.
You know, civil discourse. This is what we're doing here. One thing, yeah, whatever. Anyways, spent too much time on that already.
We can move on. Absolutely, we can move on. Thank you, Mark and Johnny. You guys have both been contributing to the community for well over a year, probably. So a tip of the hat to both of you. Thank you.
All right. From Twitter, Jerry Sleebs 007, big James Bond fan, says, "Hey guys, what a win in that final game of the Cubs series. Can either of you explain to me what the deal is with this team? Every time I give up on them and think the season is over, they string together some wins. Is this an actual contending team?" Well, I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say every time we go World Series and we start booking our time off work, they lose 5 out of 6 to the Guardians and the Cubs. So it works both ways. It's a double-edged sword, as they say.
I'm with Jerry, though. What's the deal with this team?
Hey, good Seinfeld reference. All right. There you go. Get it in.
Honestly, are they a contender? Like, yes. If your idea of a contender is, are they in a playoff hunt? Absolutely, they are. Do they have the horses to win a World Series? I don't know. Like, things would need to go incredibly right for them. One thing the Blue Jays do have going for them, they're
defensive
number one
saved
in all of baseball in defensive runs saved. Yes. Their outfield is incredible. Their pitching has been, honestly, I don't know if I remember a Blue Jays team that has been so top to bottom reliable pitching wise. And I don't mean just starters. I mean bullpen, low leverage guys. It's been really impressive to see the pitching staff that this team has put together. There are a lot of reasons to tear this front office apart. Pitching is not one of them. In fact, even if you look at what they've got going on next year, it looks really good. Hyun-jin Ryu coming back. I mean, he had just a great outing again against the Cubs. A shaky first inning. I mean, he got hammered so hard in his second outing and when I say hammered so hard, I meant like he was pitching a no-hitter and then literally got hit in the knee and had to deal with a knee contusion for a week. But he's back on the mound. The guy is hitting his spots. He's in the best shape that I've ever seen Hyun-jin Ryu in. He lost 30 pounds over this rehab stint. I'm excited about Ryu, man. I really think that he is going to contribute far more over the next 6 weeks than people had anticipated. And I think he's going to really make a strong argument that if he's not in the rotation for a playoff spot, that he makes the roster.
Yeah. Well, we got more to talk about Ryu in a bit. But yeah, as far as this team, is it a contender? I mean, here's the positives. Pitching is lights out. If we look at runs allowed, just total runs allowed in all of baseball, Blue Jays are second best, 481. Only the Mariners have allowed fewer runs, and they've played 2 less games. So unless they go back-to-back shutouts,
Jays are number one.
Jays are
which
number
is
one.
Hilarious because both the Mariners and the Jays are like not good at scoring runs.
No, but we talked about defensive run saved, or however you want to look at it. Defensively, this team is good, really good. Defense doesn't slump, as they say, right? So bringing this back to, is this team a contender? I mean, if they make the playoffs, then it's just a matter of, do the bats get hot? And that goes for any team, right? Whether it's the Atlanta Braves or the LA Dodgers or whoever, you just need timely hitting.
And even zooming the microscope out to where we're at right now, August 15th, going into a series against the Phillies. We play 2 against the Phils. There's the off day on Thursday. They play 3 against Cincinnati. There's 3 against, and then another off day. So this team is being well rested this month of August. Then there's 3 against Baltimore, the 25th, 26th, 27th. They're back home against Cleveland, and then 3 against Washington, 3 against Colorado, 3 against Oakland, 3 against Kansas City before the meat grinder that is the final 3 weeks of the season. This team really could separate themselves from the teams that are chasing them. The Mariners are 2 games back now. The Mariners have cooled off a little bit since going 9-1. The Boston Red Sox are still scary to me. They just, at every step of the way, just when you think they're out, they're not. What are they back? I'll just double check here. I think they're only 3 games back.
3 games back right now. Yep.
And we played the Boston Red Sox 6 more times this year. They play the Tampa Bay Rays 6 more times, and they play the New York Yankees 6 more times. So there's a lot of things that can happen in these last 6 weeks of baseball. But yeah, they're in it, man. They're a contender. Is this team flawed? Like, if you're asking me, is this team flawed? The answer is, fuck yeah, they are.
Well, okay. In a playoff situation, bats can go cold and you're screwed. I feel like our defense can steal a win. Like, yeah, we need our bats to show up and Bo to be healthy and all that, of course. Yes. But as far as is this team a contender, like, I gotta say, yeah, like, I feel good. As long as we can make the playoffs, I feel like good about this team. Like, if we're gonna just play tight baseball, grind it out kind of stuff, I like our chances of winning a game 1-0 or 2-1. I didn't feel that way last year. I don't know. It's not as exciting.
It's funny how fandom works, because I remember last year looking at the Cleveland Guardians and being a little envious, being like, I like the way this team plays baseball. They grind it out. Sure, it's all on the shoulders of Jose Ramirez to drive in runs. Sure, they're only winning 3-2, but what a fun brand of baseball. Now that is the Blue Jays brand of baseball, I hate it.
Yep, pretty much sums up fandom for sure. But there you go. I don't know. Jays last year, 13th in runs allowed in all of baseball. This year, number 1. Okay. Good question. Let's get on to the next one then. Jenna B tweeted at us, X'd at us, and said, good God. How many times has Danny Jansen been hit by a pitch this year? And it always seems to be on the hand, too.
So first of all, Jenna, very astute observation, by the way. It's funny because Adam does have the actual number is how many times he's been hit by a pitch, but I Googled it, and everything that came up, like, there are 3 different times that Danny has been hit on the hand and missed at least 1 game because of it. He's been on the IL due to it. And like, Danny doesn't wear batting gloves, but you see more and more he's got that you only need to be hit in the hand. What is it? 6 strikes and you're out, right, Danny? And then
yeah, 8 hit by pitch for Danny Jansen so far, which seems like a lot.
It does.
We did look up, though, Ty France of the Mariners hit by pitch 21 times this year.
Just insane.
That's a lot.
Just insane. Who now? This is one. I'm going to pose the question and give you. Adam already knows the answer, so I'm going to pose the question to you folks watching. Do you remember the early 2000s? Okay, think the Frank Catalanato era of the Blue Jays. There was a gentleman on the team who just. Do you remember the year, Adam? Do you have the season?
He got hit by a pitch a lot, but it was 2006. He led Major League Baseball in hit by pitch.
But 2006 was when a Blue Jay led the entire league in hits by a pitch. And we'll give you a second here. Who is that guy? Who is the dude who in 2006 was hit more than any other Blue Jay? And
let's move on to the next question, which is related to it. We'll answer it, and then we'll reveal the answer.
Love it.
There you go. Look at us. We're doing like a real show all of a sudden.
Yeah,
right?
hey.
Questions, participation. All right. So from Patreon, Matt Finley says, and this is a fun one, different type of question for the mailbag this week. Wondering if you guys could take turns giving your answers for this Joey Votto tweet. The Joey Votto tweet in question is, you get an entire year of Major League plate appearances, approximately 650. How many hits do you get? How many walks do you get? How many gulp hit by pitch do you get? There's the tweet in question. Matt says, I don't know what gulp means, by the way. It's just his tweet. I think gulp is just like that, like Scooby-Doo kind of a...
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh, yeah. Because you're hit by a pitch, right?
I'll go first because I honestly, 650 plate appearances. It was funny. I went to Cologne. I was playing some shows there a couple months ago, and I hit the batting cages, and they were going. I went to the very fast one, so they were throwing at 70 miles an hour, and I literally, man, like I fouled off everything.
Nice,
like,
making contact.
Well, I guess making contact. I'm just saying, like, there was not one that was like, so I gotta say, like, 650, maybe I get a hit or two. I would stop swinging and I would make them get me out. I'd be an on-base guy, on-base percentage. I think I could get a on-base percentage of 100. Pitchers,
Yeah, I could see them
pitchers
like
have an on-base percentage. Like back when the DH wasn't around, pitchers. I mean, pitchers they got a much better hitter than we are. But
I could see them walking me to get to Vladdy in hopes of a double play. How does that sound? So that'll inflate my walks. Hits. I think there's got to be 2 or 3 at bats where I'm facing a positional player.
Right? End of the game.
And he's throwing 45, 50. Those lob shots. I play slow. Yeah. I could hit that. I could put it in play. I don't know if I'd.
Yeah.
They might catch it, though. I do think.
Ooh. I'm so out of shape, too, man. Like
I know. The thought of running 90 feet to first base stresses me out. Realistically, over 650 at-bats or plate appearances, I think I could fall backwards into like 3 or 4 base hits.
Yeah.
If I was trying to hit 650 times. But I think I'm taking your strategy and I'm watching a lot of pitches.
Yeah.
Right?
Get me out.
Yeah. I don't know if I could swing fast enough to catch up to any pitch.
I know I couldn't. I'd have to cheat so bad, and then I'd just look like an idiot, right?
Yeah. So I think I would just go up there. I'd crowd the plate hard. I'd wear all the elbow pads and shin protectors I could. I'm going full crowd the plate mode, and I'm hoping to get hit by pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Walks and hit by pitch.
The Thai France.
I think I could probably. I bet you I could sneak out a dozen to 2 dozen hit by pitches. I got a lot of padding. I'm a padded boy, so I could take some heat off the butt, you know?
Yeah.
Put it right off the old ham hock back there. Yeah, I could get on base. Now, I'm probably getting pinch run for once I'm on base, but yeah, I could get on base. I bet you like...
I mean, 650 plate appearances, there's going to be some guys who walk you. There has to be. Like,
Yeah, I'd say probably 2 or 3 hits. As embarrassing of a number as that is. Probably like 30 to 40 walks, which would be all on the pitcher's fault, not on me earning a walk. And then, yeah, probably like 20-ish hit by pitches, just because I know I'm going to be crowding the plate and I'm not getting out of the way. Now, the umpires might call me on that, but...
You know what impressed me about facing 70-mile-an-hour pitching in the batting cage is all I could think was like, R.A. Dickey, my man, throws a knuckleball 80 miles an hour. And I'm just like, I can't even catch up with, when they're like dialed in meatballs across the plate, I can't catch up to it. I mean, I'm old, guys, and I'm out of shape, and just, I mean, it's not like I could keep up. When I was a teenager, though, like 70 miles an hour was fast, but if I was in the cage and knew where it was going, I'd hit it, you know?
You know what? Hold on. I just thought of something. No, never mind. I was going to say, I might be able to sneak in some, like, surprise bunt singles.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, no.
The Brandon Belt, if you will.
Yeah, like, maybe if they really shifted me, if I was hitting from the left side, I might be able to lay one down. But I'm thinking, in honesty, they're not respecting my power enough. They're playing infield in every time I come up. So even if I laid one down, I'm dead to rights. I'm not running it out quickly. So I don't know.
So now here it is. The big reveal. 2006, a Toronto Blue Jay led the entire majors with hits by pitch. And that was
Reed Jansen.
Reed Jansen. I loved Reed.
Me too.
And I remember we were talking about this before you hit record too, but man, that I remember that year, and it did feel like Reed was getting hit like every game. Yeah. It was wild. It is so crazy to me that Ty France has 21, which already is what Reed Jansen had to lead major leagues back in 2006. Like at this pace, he's going to break 25. Like he's going to be hit another 3, 4, 5 times. It's crazy.
The all-time record for hit by pitch. Does this really count? It was 1896. Huey Jennings, 51 hit by pitch.
Wow, that is a lot. But they couldn't throw very fast back then, right?
Exactly. Ron Hunt, 50 hit by pitch in 1971, did it for the Expos.
Wow.
Now, here's interesting little tidbit. Third on the list, also Huey Jennings, 46 the year after. Number 4 on the list, also Huey Jennings. Ooh. The year after that with 46. So Huey Jennings was just taking my approach. He's like, I'm just going to crowd the plate and get on.
Yeah.
Did it for the Orioles.
What a painful way to increase your on-base percentage.
Yeah. What a painful way is right. 1898 here. Baltimore Orioles. Huey Jennings hit by pitch 46 times. Also, that same season, Dan McGann hit by pitch 39 times. So just a couple of teammates going up there crowding the plate.
Love it.
Interesting stuff. Okay. Let's get to Discord. You have some stuff from Discord?
Yeah, I mean, this is just typical Discord stuff going on, but I did I enjoyed the excitement from the boys that were chatting about it. So Rinks, of course, he's been around for a long time. Rinks, good to hear you piping up here, bud. He goes, Astros lose, Mariners lose. Yup, we like that. And then Forbesy Jr. responds, I love this. It's officially scoreboard watching season. And it is scoreboard watching season.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And you know what? Listen, there are a lot of reasons to feel downtrodden about this Blue Jays team at times. There is. I don't begrudge it. I understand it 100%. There are a lot of fan bases out there that would give body parts to be engaged in baseball August 15th.
New York Mets fans.
New York Mets fans would love to have this season the Toronto Blue Jays are having. We'll take a quick look at the standings here. The Blue Jays hold that third and final wild card spot. They're only 2 games back of Houston for the second wild card. Seattle, 2 games back of the Jays for the final spot. Boston, 3 games back of that. And then the New York Yankees, probably the last team you need to worry about at 5.5 back. They sit 60 and 59 at the bottom of the AL East. And as for that, I mean,
when
the trade deadline was, the Angels are done.
The Angels,
I'm crossing. They're 7 games. The Angels are 7 games back. Like, think about the fact that the Blue Jays are closer to the Rays.
Yep.
Than the Angels are to catching them. It's just not happening. And I mean, yes, the Angels had a lot of injuries and stuff, but that front office is a bit of a gong show. A lot of opportunity to rebuild this organization up from the ground floor, and they just didn't take it. Who knows, though?
Cleveland Guardians, by the way, 8.5 games back of a wild card, but only 4.5 back of the division. So they're further out than the Angels are as far as wild card goes, but that AL Central's up for grabs.
The Minnesota Twins are the best they've been all year, and they are 4 games above 500. This is the best record, 4 games above 500. It's the best they've been all year. They lead the American League Central. We've talked ad nauseum about the disparity in divisions and how shit the Central has been, but it's kind of crazy to think that we're sitting here 120 games into the season, and the Minnesota Twins lead their division by 4 games above 500. It just blows my mind. It's just, God, that division sucks. Sorry to Twins fans.
Sorry to Twins fans. You want to talk Arizona Diamondbacks while we're talking standings? They've kind of fallen off the cliff.
They have. They're a game under 500.
That was my NL team this year with all those Blue Jays playing for them.
Man, the San Francisco Giants, like, I'm so impressed with what they've done this season. No one really saw this coming, and they tried so hard in the offseason to make a huge splash. I mean, Aaron Judge went there, Arson Judge, I should say. Carlos Correa signed and then disappeared, right? Like, they had some really exciting moments where the media just made that fan base like just lose their mind with excitement and then just pulled the rug out from under them. I can't even imagine the 3 hours that they went through thinking that Aaron Judge was a Giant. Like, man, but good on them.
Oh, man. Hey, yeah, it's I feel bad for Diamondbacks. I thought they were going to do it.
Diamondbacks 3.5 games back of the final wild card spot, being held by Miami. The Marlins, man, I really bought in that the Marlins were for real this year, and I'm just not sold anymore at game 120. I mean, I think the Cubs are the team that's going to be in the playoffs at the end of this thing. I could be full of it, but man, like, playing them this weekend, they looked good. They've got really good pitching. They lack scoring as well, but I mean, we're kind of living in a glass house these days, so I feel bad throwing stones at that.
Thrown. Checking in on former Blue Jays while we're looking at the Diamondbacks and such. Gabriel Moreno, back from injury. His offensive prowess has lost some sheen after the hot start that him and Lourdes both put together in April. Lourdes Gurriel, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Teoscar Hernandez. Rank those three in terms of how many home runs you think they have this season.
Teoscar number 1, Lourdes number 2, Vladdy number 3.
Close. Lourdes number 1, Vladdy number 2, Teoscar number 3.
Oh, wow.
19 for Lourdes now, 18 for Vlad, 17 for Teoscar. I never in a million years would have put it in that order. Anyways.
Just to touch on Gabriel Moreno really quick. We'll move on. I love Gabriel Moreno. I think he has all the potential in the world, but watching him this season, and I have paid attention to the Diamondbacks a little bit, and I have actually watched some games with Gabby behind the plate. The kid is going to be a stud. He's got a monster arm. Expecting him to run the pitching staff at 23 years old as a rookie, and on top of that, be an offensive stud that he has been predicted to be. It is such a giant ask of a young man, especially at the catching position. And this is again why he was the one that was traded. I mean, obviously, Kirk was probably the guy they were trying to get them to take, and you need two sides here.
Yep.
Moreno is going to be an all-star, but it's like Danny Jansen. Like, look at where Danny is right now, turning 28 years old, right? He was always touted as an offensively gifted catcher, and we have only just seen that coming out of him in the last couple years, where we are actually seeing his bat come together. And it took him years of just concentrating on the defensive end of the game to be, and forget about the metrics. It matters so much if the pitching staff trusts you. Even if defensively it looks like you're shit. If the pitchers are buying in, that's all that really matters. And this pitching staff loves Danny Jansen.
There you go. A lot of confidence in old Danny Jansen there.
So
okay.
Gabriel Moreno, all I'm saying is, like, he is going to be great. Give him some more time, right? Like, I know there's probably even Diamondbacks fans that are disappointed right now, right? Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Last one, longer question. This one comes from Patreon as well, and then we'll get out of here. So Marcus G says, what are your thoughts on you got to see the way he spells this, a reunion for 2024, but it spells Ryu-nion. Love that. Reunion for 2024. So he's a free agent after this season. Maybe an incentive-laden contract. Does it make financial sense for both the front office and Ryu? Will Ryu price himself out of such a potential arrangement if he keeps rolling through September but is left off the postseason rotation?
This is a great question. I really do. Sorry.
He goes on to just add, and then we can address all of this. But he says, I ask because I'm concerned about the lack of starting pitcher 6 in the minors after trading away Roberts and Kloffenstein.
Great point.
Tiedemann will almost certainly be severely innings restricted for 2024. And what's the Manoah insurance plan? I see Tiedemann as more of a Kikuchi replacement for the following season in 2025 with a prolonged audition next summer. So with Tiedemann, this might be the shortest part of the question for us to answer. So let's tackle this first. I mean, I agree. I think here's two factors working against Tiedemann in 2024. Let me know if you agree or if you hate this. Factor number one, what we just saw with Alek Manoah in a learn your lesson type of a situation, I don't think the Jays are going to want to just throw a massive workload at Ricky Tiedemann after what they just saw with Manoah and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they are going to have to learn from that, be a little bit more careful. Also, what compounds that is Ricky Tiedemann's injury this season. I think
which has impeded his development. It definitely has impeded his
set his
development.
development back. And just from like a workload standpoint, I think they really got to be careful. They can't afford to get too aggressive with him. And
quick reminder on Ricky
Tiedemann's
Tiedemann's age too. He's 21 years old. So the average age of AA is 24. Ricky's already with the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. God, I do that too often. I think the goal is so Ricky is back at AA. He has done some rehab starts in Dunedin. He skipped Vancouver. He is now with New Hampshire, which is where they wanted him to be all season long. His innings, minimal. I think they're going to push him to try and get to AAA this year, and then I think they're going to give him a full season. And if he does the Alek Manoah and blows them away, there may be a spot, but I really don't wish to see them rush this kid's development, especially if you look at the pitchers that they have locked up for the next little while. So Kikuchi still has 1 year left on his contract. So 2024, he is a Blue Jay, barring whatever might happen in the offseason.
Given the season he's had, SP4 or SP5 is his job to lose, right? Like coming into this season, there was question marks. I don't think there's a question mark for him.
He has earned a spot in this rotation. He shouldn't need to work for it at all. I think coming out of spring training, no matter what we see out of him, he is in this rotation. Yeah. Jose Barrios, 5 more years on his contract, and he's been incredible. So Jose Barrios locked up long-term. Kevin Gausman, 3 more years on his contract come 2024. Alek Manoah, they actually, sending him down this year, they gained a year of before he's a free agent. So now he's not even a free agent until 2029. He was originally going to be a free agent in 2028. So he's locked up long-term. Would I like to see Hyun-jin Ryu return? I think that's a great move. And I think that Boris, who is Scott Boris, the Boris Corp, who is the agency for Ryu. They may need to take a rebuilding year. Listen, he's 36 years old. I think Ryu has some Charlie Morton in him. I think that he is a wily enough guy with enough pitches and hits his spots. He's always been a control guy that we could see Ryu in the big leagues for another 4 years. I don't think it's impossible. And I would love to see the Blue Jays give him another opportunity, just bolstering the depth. We've seen what happens when you think you have depth and then 2 guys go down and you're like, we have no depth, right? Mm-hmm. So it would be great to see Ryu, and I think that Hyun-jin enjoys Toronto. I think that he likes this team, is comfortable where they are. I can see him taking, maybe it is more than we expect. Maybe he gets a 1-year, $20 million deal. But if they can get him on 1 year, I say do it. If they can do it on 2 at a decent price, I say do it. Now, I can't see Boris convincing any organization to give Ryu at 36 years old more than 2 years. Who knows, though? The Boris Corp has done some incredible stuff with contracts.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he'll be 37 next year, coming off of Tommy John, only playing a partial season. A 3-year commitment would be probably a pretty incredible move for his agent. I mean, yeah. What I've seen from him this year, like, what's not to like? WHIP of 1.071, ERA 2.57 through his 3 starts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't expect him to pitch those numbers for the next month and a half, but he looks
before.
he looks competent.
Yes.
Right, is the thing. It's always coming back from Tommy John. You go, well, what has he got left? Like, I mean, where's the velo at? What is his confidence level to throw those pitches and to locate?
He looks a hell of a lot better than Syndergaard.
Yep. And he looks a lot better than he did before he had Tommy John surgery.
Yes, when he was trying to pitch through that. Yeah,
pitch through in the pain. So, I mean, yeah, I would definitely give him 1 or 2 years for sure.
Yeah. Drop your comments below, Grounds Crew. By the way, excellent questions, this mailbag. I really enjoyed this one.
Here's my food analogy for the day. This comes to learning from your lessons and managing Ricky Tiedemann's workload increase. My daughter's 12. She's at that age where she's starting to like cook in the kitchen. And I'm like, you got to read the box, follow the directions. Like you got to add how much butter and milk to the Kraft dinner that the box tells you to. But the first time she made pancakes, they turned out great, and she was just winging it. She just was like adding stuff to the mix, and they turned out awesome. The second time she did it, they were a disaster. And now every time since then, I don't even have to tell her. She is reading. She's got the measuring cups out. She is learning from her mistakes. And that's the analogy here with Ricky Tiedemann.
There you go.
And Alek Manoah. So
don't pancake Alek Manoah or Ricky Tiedemann like you did.
Pancake Ricky Tiedemann. Yeah, exactly. Put that on a t-shirt. Okay. That's Mailbag for today.
Thank you so much to the Grounds Crew for all your questions. You can always get a hold of us by DMing us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Message us to join the Discord. It's a happening place. We're pushing 300 members at this point. Everyone is a very supportive and fun place to talk baseball and Blue Jays. So all you need to do is grab a link from us. Patreon. You get your bump. That's Patreon/the Walk Off. Right, buddy?
Yep. MLB Mondays on Patreon as well. So
yes, that's right.
If by chance you were like, where's all the Wander Franco talk? Wander Franco, sorry. Frickin' I keep messing his name up. Anyways, we talked about it yesterday. It was all speculation and BS because there's no real details out yet. I'm sure we'll talk about it again next Monday. But you were able to not do MLB Mondays, so I did an hour solo on one of the most horrific stories I've heard of in sports in a long time. So thanks for that one.
Yeah, right. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much. One quick plug here for the live show in Toronto, September 10th, Baseball Town. It is a live long toss. We've got Blake Murphy of Sportsnet, Julia Cruz of MLB.com, Johnny G of Gate 14, Jay Jackson of the Toronto Blue Jays, and of course, our seasoned veteran Iron Lady, Baseball Jen, is going to be there. Making Adam incredibly jealous that this has all worked out. So
I just had an idea. You hire me to cat sit for you. I come down, check on Cat Stevens. Eric from 102 comes down. There you go.
You got yourself a party. I love it.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Take care of yourselves. Cheers.